Well, I'd like to welcome you to CompassLife Church today. So glad that you are with us. If you're watching online, thank you for joining us today. Hopefully it is not too cold and the snow is not too high, but we're glad that you're with us wherever you're watching from. You're part of our fellowship and what's going on here today. How many of you made a New Year's resolution today, or at the beginning of the new year? Anybody? How many of you already broke it the next day? I was telling somebody that I overslept my alarm earlier this week and I missed the gym for the 7th straight year. Well, we're in this series called Clean Slate, and the whole idea is that 2025 is a new beginning. You are not defined by your yesterdays. If you are a believer and if you walk with Jesus Christ, you are no longer held captive by the enemy who wants to whisper in your ear about your failures and your inconsistencies. You are no longer captive to the lies he wants to tell you about your hopelessness, or that if you're a single person and you want to be married, that no one could ever love you. And if you're single again and would like to be married, that you never know what God is going to do. If you're struggling with a health issue, there is hope for the future. Listen, we are not confined or shackled by the lies that the enemy wants to tell us. 2025 is a new year, and so as we've been walking through this idea of clean slate, we've been talking about the ability of God to make us new, to change our circumstances, and that this year we can hope in the promises of God regardless of our yesterdays. Wouldn't you like to believe that there could be a clean slate for you? Wouldn't you like to believe that your story is not over? Wouldn't you like to believe that and imagine that there's a future where you could be free of your past and free of your current anxiety and worry? Wouldn't you like to believe that the miraculous can happen in your life today? Now, I don't know what it's like to be old yet, although I'm getting closer to that all the time. But sometimes people spend money on crazy things to enjoy their seniority and elderly living. Anybody know anybody like that? So there was an elderly guy in Tampa I read about that decided he was going to buy a brand new Corvette. He just had always wanted a Corvette, and so he went out and spent the money, paid cash for it, told his children that he was spending their inheritance with glee. And so he gets his Corvette, he's driving down the road in I-75, and apparently he wanted to see what it could do. And so he stomped on it, and he hit 80 miles an hour, and he was going, and he's like, you know what? I bet this little baby can do more than that. So he really punched it. He got up to 100 miles an hour, and pretty soon he sees the cherries and berries behind him, and he's like, you know, I'm kind of old. What are they going to do, send me to jail? He's like, let's see what this baby's got. So he punched it, 120 miles an hour he's going, and the cops are behind, this cop is behind him trying to catch up, and finally he's like, what am I doing? I am way too old for this, right? So he pulls over the side of the road, as the story goes, I guess, and the police officer gets up and he's walking toward the guy, and he gets to the gentleman's door, and he looks at his watch, looks at the gentleman in the driver's seat, says, you know, I don't know what's going on today, but I've got 30 minutes before my shift ends. If you can tell me, give me an excuse I have never heard before, I'm going to let you off. The older gentleman looked down. He said, well, sir, 20 years ago, my wife left me for a Florida State trooper. And I thought you were bringing her back. And the police officer smiled and walked away. Wouldn't you like a clean slate in 2025? Wouldn't you like to be let off the hook for your past, for your regrets, for your shame in 2025? In his book to Letters to Young Evangelicals, Tony Campolo shares a story about the first communion that he ever remembers taking. He said he was 7 years old and he was sitting next to his parents, and there was a young 20-something-year-old girl sitting right in front of him, and it came time for communion. The preacher was talking about forgiveness of sin. He was talking about grace. He was talking about new beginnings, and then they called the ushers forward, and they began to to pass the communion plates. But as the preacher was talking about grace and forgiveness and second chances, and that no one was outside of the grace of Jesus Christ, this woman began to sob and just was shaking uncontrollably. And Tony says he remembers that as the preacher was talking about all of these incredible ideas and hopes that we have in Jesus Christ, this woman was just shaking her head. And as the preacher was saying, listen, no one is unworthy of grace when it comes to Jesus Christ, she just was obviously she was so overcome with her grief and her shame, she just kept shaking her head. And when the communion plate passed her by, she didn't grab the bread or the juice. She just continued to sob. Tony says his dad, who was a Sicilian from Italy, leaned forward and he said, "Take it, girl. This was meant for you. Take it." And as this young woman reached up to take the elements, still shaking with her heartbreak, Tony said he noticed a change in the way she was crying. No longer were they tears of guilt and shame and regret, but they became tears of hope and gratitude and belief. Do you believe in a God? Do you believe in a God that has the power to change you? Do you believe in a God that is so powerful and whose grace is so all-surpassing that he sees you as you are and loves you still? Because I believe in that God. And I believe in second chances, and I believe in new beginnings, and I believe that there is a God today who wants to wipe your slate clean and say, you still have value, you still have hope, your past does not define you, your future is no longer murky or cloudy, because when I am the author of your story, I want you to know that there are still great chapters yet to be written, so don't give up. Don't believe the lies of the enemy who wants to tell you that your best days are behind you, that God cannot use you because you have done too much to disgrace him. Today is a new day, friends. And the God who created you, who knit you together in your mother's womb, still sees potential in you and in your story. So come on. 2025 is the year of the clean slate. Today I want to share a story of hope and redemption with you from the book of Isaiah. If you want to turn your Bibles, your mobile devices, we're going to be in Isaiah chapter 11 today. I want to talk with you about God's clean slate opportunity that waits even for you. Isaiah chapter 11 says this. Well, before I do that, I want to give you a little bit of background. Isaiah is prophesying about a coming king, a Messiah who will bring peace and rule with wisdom. He's offering hope to the hopeless people. This is how Isaiah chapter 11 verse 1 starts out. Out of the stump of David's family will grow a shoot. Yes, a new branch bearing fruit from the old root. Now, just a quick story about what's going on here. Remember, 2 years before Isaiah is writing, the nation of Israel had been divided into two nations after the death of Solomon. There was a civil war. The 10 northern tribes continued to be called the nation of Israel. The two southern tribes became known as the nation of Judah. You can see it on this map. You see the two southern nations, the kingdom of Judah, and then the kingdom of Israel was in the north. Israel is a prophet of the southern kingdom of Judah, but with incredible sadness, he writes about the nation of Israel, who had become a godless nation, who had begun to worship false idols, who had walked away from God. And he said because of their unfaithfulness, because they had turned away from God, that this nation was going to be torn down by the Assyrians, who were the bloodthirsty, brutal nation who ruled by fear and who did horrible things to the nations they conquered in order to send a message. They were one of the first armies to work with psyops, the minds of the people. The people were so afraid of the Syrians that when you would march to, when the Assyrians would march to your gate, just the mere presence of them, kings would capitulate, nations would surrender without even having a battle because of the reputation of the Assyrians. Within 20 years of his writing, the 10 tribes of Israel would be taken by the Assyrians. And then when the Assyrians would take over your nation, what they would do is they'd want to wipe you out of history. And so they would take the 10 tribes of Israel, they would take small groups of people, and they would place them in different locations throughout the Assyrian Empire. And what that effectively did to the nation of Israel is they were lost to history. When they talk about the 10 tribes of Israel that have been lost, this is why they're lost, because they were separated by the Assyrians and placed in small communities. And that's why when we do Ancestry.com and other, or 23andMe, sometimes you'll get that you're an Ashkenazi Jew. I mean, you might be a Jew depending on who you married. But an Ashkenazi Jew, what is wrong with me today? Ashkenazi Jew, that you have lineage from most likely one of those lost tribes. And so over the years, the nation of Israel is lost. The people lose their identity. The people lose their nationhood. And the Assyrians, for all intents and purposes, wipe them out as a nation. Well, at the same time, this passage is pointing to the devastated state of Judah, the 10 southern tribes. By the way, when we talk about Jews, do you know why we call them Jews? What nation are they from? Judah. So doesn't it make sense that they would be called Jews because they're from Judah? By the way, when I was in Israel the first time, I asked Igal, who was our guide, who looked like Peter Sellers. I said, what tribe are you from? And he said, every Jew that lives in Israel today is from the tribe of Judah because all of the other tribes have been lost. But it's in this moment when Isaiah is writing that he's going to prophesy to the Jewish people about their future as well. That's what he says. Remember, the 10 northern tribes have been devastated. We know that the Assyrians are going to be coming also for Judah. That the nation of Israel as a whole, the two nations that were once one that fell apart under the rule of Solomon's son and one of the Jewish generals who took the southern nation. He says this, out of the stump of David's family will grow a shoot. Now, have you ever seen a tree cut off that seems to be dead? Can anything grow out of that stump? Have you seen this picture before? How life springs from death, where newness springs from the old. In the midst of failure, God is saying through Isaiah that I'm not done with you yet. And friends, he's not done with you yet either. Do you know what hope is? In the 1980s, there was a movie. I won't bother you with the name of the movie. If you know, you know. But there's a story of this guy who is really messed up. I mean, he is goofy. You can't. It's the kind of guy that if he ever got married, you'd be like, wow, didn't see that coming. Some people felt that about me for a long time until Erica rescued me. But anyway, he sees this beautiful girl that's way out of his league. And he's nervous when he's talking to her. Sometimes guys get nervous when they're talking to girls, right? And he's hoping that maybe there can be a romantic future for them. And he says to her, what are the chances, and you're going to understand how nervous he is. He says, what are the chances of a girl like me and a guy like you getting together? And she says, not good. He says, you mean like 1 in 100? And she says, I'd say like more like 1 in a million. And you would think that he would be devastated in this moment, but all of us hopeless romantics hold on to hope. And so he looks at her and he says, so you're telling me there's a chance? No. Friends, that's hope. How important is hope in your life? In the book Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl talks about the power of hope. He was a Jewish psychiatrist who, in World War II, was sent to a concentration camp. And he said amongst the brutality, the beatings, the killings, the dehumanization of the Jewish people, hope was all-powerful. He said in order to maintain his sanity and to give him a fight for life, what he would do is he would visualize himself. He would visualize how life would be different when he once again was out of the concentration camp. He said, I visualized teaching students again. He said, I visualized sitting by a fire reading a book. And that gave me hope when I could visualize with hope about a future that seemed uncertain. He said the contrast of that is there are people who just couldn't go on. They didn't believe that there would ever be a rescue and that they would be released and that they would have life again, or would they had lost other family members to the concentration camps. And he said they just would give up hope, and what they would do is they would lay down in the mud, and it didn't matter if they were beaten or if people who loved them begged them. They would just cease to have any kind of hope for a future, and they would lay down and simply die. Those who had hope and could believe that life was not over were the ones that survived. Those who gave up hope are the ones who would die. In Vietnam, there was an interesting statistic that when in Vietnam changed the course of warfare. Some of you were there, and the life expectancy of someone who is wounded in the field, if a dust-off or medical chopper could get to them within an hour of being wounded, their chances of survival were off the charts. It changed warfare as we knew it. But here's what they said. They said somebody could be mangled in a battle, but if they believed that they were going to live, most often their chances of survival were much better. The inverse was if somebody just was shot or wounded or grazed by a bullet or whatever happened, there were instances of people who were lightly wounded who believed that their life was over, and the medics are like, are you kidding? You've got all this in front of you. You're going to be fine. If they didn't believe that they were going to live, most oftentimes they didn't. How powerful is hope in our life? Friends, hope is what keeps us going when all of our future, all of our dreams hangs in the balance, or when things fall apart. Listen to Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1 again, this time from the New International Version. A shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse. From his roots, a branch will bear fruit. Now, why does he talk about the stump of Jesse instead of just saying the family of David? I mean, David was the great king of Israel. David gave birth to Solomon, who was known as the wisest man to ever live, who was one of the richest kings to ever live. He didn't always show a lot of wisdom when he got married and had 700 wives and 300 porcupines. But David is known as the greatest king of Israel. Why wouldn't he say, out of this stump, the line of David will rise again? Why does he go back to David's father, Jesse? It's because the line of David had become corrupt, was a mess, was dysfunctional. If you look at the children in David's life and the way that they were parented, David's family was a mess. Some of that is when you step into the decisions that David made, the sins that David committed, the way that he had drifted from God, it makes sense why his family was so dysfunctional. The way that we choose to parent, the way that we choose to live has a profound impact on our children. Some of you are looking at your kids thinking, wow, there's no way I created that. Some of you are looking at your parents saying, oh yeah, you did. What God is saying is that from this line that seems to be so messed up, it's not going to come from David's family, but the one who is born will be another David. Now, don't miss this. Just like David, the new king, this new Messiah won't look like a king. When David was the youngest son in Jesse's family, which he always was, obviously, he was just a simple shepherd boy. When the prophet comes to anoint the next king of Israel, he's overlooked because out of all the sons, he seems the less likely to eventually be the king of Israel. But God often chooses people who don't look the part or don't have the education or don't have the life experience or the skills or the talent or the good looks in order to be great things, to do great things, because God always uses people who are willing, not people who think that they should be the chosen. And maybe God wants to use you today. But when the Spirit of the Lord comes upon David, the shepherd of sheep becomes the slayer of giants. And friends, I want you to know that same Spirit that came into David's life, that allowed him to face the mighty Goliath, that allowed him to become leader of men, that allowed him to survive even in the enemy's courts, is in you today if you are a follower of Jesus Christ. So you're saying there's a chance. Your marriage is a mess, and you wonder how it's going to survive this new year. But you're saying there's a chance. You're a relational disaster. You can't seem to make things work. Everyone around you ends up looking like, who's the guy on Peanuts that the cloud followed around? But God's saying that there's a chance. Your kids are crazy like their parent, the other one. But God is saying, with him all things are possible, and that there's a chance. You're facing an incredible health crisis right now, and the doctors aren't sure you're going to make it. And even if they are, the way you feel, you don't know if there's a chance that you're going to make it. But God is saying, there's a chance. Your financial situation is similar to the Beverly Hillbillies before they struck black cold, Texas tea. But God is saying, with me, there's always a chance. You see, with God, you're never out of the game. You're never out of the situation. You're never out of his blessing or his future. With God, there's always a chance. And that chance is called hope. There's always this tension between I can do it I don't need God. And God, I need you to do it. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again and again and again until you get it. And even once you get it, maybe somebody else doesn't and needs to hear it. And it's from the 12-step programs, right? I can't, God can. I think I'll let him. Until we get to the point where we recognize that the power to change, the power to heal, the power to be restored doesn't come from our ability to fix things, we're never going to rely on God the way that we should. You can't fix the mess you're in. You can't change hearts. You can't change perceptions. But guess what? God can. So you're saying there's a chance. And friends, this new David is going to change the world. Isaiah 11 verses 2 through 5 says, "And the Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. He will delight in obeying the Lord. He will not judge by appearance, nor make a decision based on heresy. He will give justice to the poor and make fair decisions for the exploited. The earth will shake at the force of his word, and one breath from his mouth will destroy the wicked. He will wear righteousness like a belt and truth like an undergarment." From the devastation of this broken experiment that was once called Israel, God is saying, I will bring life again. And to a war-torn, weary people, he says, in that day the wolf and the lamb will live together. The leopard will lie down with the baby goat. The calf and the yearling will be safe with the lion, and the little child will lead them all. The cow will graze near the bear. The cub and the calf will lie down together. The lion will eat hay like a cow. The baby will play safely near the hole of a cobra. Yes, a little child will put its hand in a nest of deadly snakes without harm. Nothing will hurt or destroy in all of my holy mountain. For as the waters fill the sea, so the earth will be filled with people who know the Lord. Friends, the older I get, the more I want peace. I don't think it's a mistake that Jerusalem is called the city of peace. I don't think that it's a mistake that when Jewish people see each other, that they say, what? How you doing? How's your day going? No, they say shalom, which means peace, but it means more than peace. It means completeness. May you have completeness. The older I get, the more I look at the fires that are raging through California right now, the more that I see terrorist actions taking the life of people, innocent people, the more that I see people struggling with anxiety and depression, the more that I see how the economy is crushing everyday normal people, the more that I see infighting in a divided nation. All I want is peace in this world. All I want is to be free. I want my children to be able to grow up in a nation, in a place where they don't have to worry about what other people want to do to them. I want to believe that there is a place where people from all races, all backgrounds, all ethnicities can come together and they can find peace together, because guess what? We're all children of God. We used to sing this great theological song when I was growing up in the 1990s. And I think, or 70s, that went something like this. Red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in his sight. And see, God is just confirming, right? The electricity running through this room. We are not the skins that we wear. We are the souls that will live on forever. Friends, your life has value and meaning and purpose. What if God wasn't done writing your story yet? Wouldn't it be great to end a chapter that has been terrifying and heartbreaking and broken? And what if your story still has elements of hope and restoration, where you, as the main character of your story, is actually going to be happy again someday? And the anxiety and the depression and the medical challenges and the physical ailments and the relational disasters and your marriage problems and your broken family could all find peace together through Jesus Christ. How many of us could use a little bit more peace in our life? Verses 10 through 12 says, "In that day, the heir of David's throne will be a banner of salvation to all the world." That's good news, friends. "The nations will rally to him, and the land where he lives will be a glorious place." Did you know that in China, several years ago, there was a statistic that said in 2 more years, they said in 10 years, but it's going to be 2 more years now, that there will be more Christians in China than communists? Did you know that in some of the most darkest places in the world, Christianity is burning the brightest? Because there's always hope in darkness, and light chases away the darkness. "The nations will rally to him, and the land where he lives will be a glorious place. In that day, the Lord will reach out his hand a second time to bring back the remnant of his people, those who remain in Assyria and northern Egypt, in southern Egypt, Ethiopia, and Elam, in Babylonia, Hamath, and all the distant coastlands. He will raise a flag among the nations and assemble the exiles of Israel. He will gather the scattered people of Judah from the ends of the earth." And many people see the fulfillment of that prophecy occurring in May 14th, 1948, that after the Holocaust, Israel became a nation again. God may be slow in keeping his promises, friends, but he's always on time. And maybe you're wondering where God is today in your struggle. You believe his promises, but life can be tough, and life seems to lose its promise and its hope. But someday, we know that all of us are going to face the same kind of junk. We know that we're going to lose people that we love. We know that we're going to lose the loss of function and mobility in our life. And there will come a time even when we lose the zest for life that we used to have. And eventually our bodies will fail and we'll face the inevitability of our own death. And what do we do? What do we hope in when we near the end of our struggle? Hope. Robert McQuilkin was president of Columbia International University for 22 years. But at the age of 57, he discovered that his wife had begun to show signs of Alzheimer's, and her memory began to fade over the next several years. And as it did, her behavior became increasingly irrational. And he found himself torn between 2 commitments: his commitment to his marriage and his wife, and his commitment to his career as the president of Columbia International University. He wrote that his wife, Muriel, was content when she was around him, but when she wasn't around him, she seemed to be discontented. At sometimes when he'd go to work, she would walk and follow him sometimes for a mile without shoes on. And sometimes when he would go to work, she would just somehow show up. It was a mile trip from the house to the college, and sometimes she would walk that 1 mile each way 10 different times a day. He said he'd come home to undress her and to help her, and her feet would be bloody from walking all of those miles. So Robert McQuilkin chose to resign from the university's presidency and give full time to caring for his wife. And I want you to hear what he has to say about his resignation to the faculty and the administration.
"I haven't in my life experienced easy decision-making on major decisions. But one of the simplest and clearest decisions I've had to make is this one, because circumstances dictated it. Muriel, now, in the last couple of months, seems to be almost happy when with me, and almost never happy when not with me. In fact, She seems to feel trapped, becomes very fearful, sometimes almost terror. And when she can't get to me, there can be anger. She's in distress. But when I'm with her, she's happy and contented. And so I must be with her at all times. You see, it's not only that I promise in sickness and in health, till death do us part. And I'm a man of my word. But as I have said, I don't know with this group, but I've said publicly, it's the only fair thing. She sacrificed for me for 4 years to make my life possible. So, if I cared for her for 40 years, I'd still be in debt. However, there's much more. It's not that I have to, it's that I get to. I love her very dearly, and you can tell it's not easy to talk about. She's a delight. It's a great honor to care for such a wonderful person.
You see, friends, the older we get, the more we believe and hope that there has to be something better. For some of you, this has been a tough year. I lost my mom this year. Every day I miss her. The grief is worse than I ever could have imagined. But all of us die. All of us get sick. As long as God gives us life, if you have the gift of growing old, you know that your eyes will dim, your hearing will begin to lessen. In fact, sometimes you'll turn down the radio while you're driving so you can see better. Your body won't function. You'll hear words like heart disease and cancer and surgery and last chance and experimental. And I think sometimes that maybe God allows that so that our hope in heaven is something that we cling to even more. So we get ready to close today. I want to share a few scriptures with you. Some of them are my favorites. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 says, that is why we never give up. Though our bodies are dying, our spirits are being renewed every day. For our present troubles are small and won't last very long. Yet they produce for us a glory that vastly outweighs them and will last forever. So we don't look at the troubles we can see now. Rather, we fix our gaze on things that we cannot be seen, for the things we see now will be gone. But the things we cannot see will last forever. 1 Thessalonians says, and now, dear brothers and sisters, we want you to know what will happen to the believers who have died, so that you will not grieve like people who have no hope. For since we believe that Jesus died and was raised to life again, and we also believe that when Jesus returns, God will bring back with him the believers who have died. We tell you this directly from the Lord. We who are still living when the Lord returns will not meet him ahead of those who have died, for the Lord himself will come down from heaven with a commanding shout and the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet call of God. First the believers who have died will rise from their graves. Then together with them, we who are still alive and remain on the earth will be caught up in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. Then we will be with the Lord forever. So encourage each other with these words. Revelation says, I heard a loud shout from the throne saying, look, God's home is now among his people. He will live with them and they will be his people. God himself will be with them. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death or sorrow or crying or pain. All of these things are gone forever. Can you imagine the day that we're reunited with our parents, lost children, loved ones, spouses, friends, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents? What a reunion. The person that you love the most that you lost, if they are in Christ, someday you're going to see them again. And can you imagine? I can just imagine my mom saying, Shane. First of all, she used to say, people won't recognize me in heaven. They'll look at me and they'll say, Diane, you're so thin. But can you imagine the reunion? I can just hear my mom say, son, what took you so long? How are the kids? How's Erica? Man, we got to get ready because they're going to be here soon. And oh, what a joy. My mom might be living right next door to me for eternity, and somehow my wife will love it. Someday we'll all be together again. Your past does not define you. Jesus Christ defines you. If you haven't made a decision for him yet, you need to. Because all of those things can only come through him. You're not good enough. You may be amazing. You may be awesome. You may be one of the most incredible people to ever walk the face of this earth, but without Jesus, you're lost. And you need him. He's the one that brings hope. If you need to make a decision today for him, we're going to have some counselors up front just to talk you through that. If you need prayer, listen, some of us are grieving the loss of loved ones. Some of us are dealing with medical challenges. Some of us are struggling in our marriages. Some of us are dealing with deep financial trouble. Some of us have messed up families like the rest of us. We need each other. We need to pray for each other. If you need to make a decision, listen, the Lord is waiting for you to come home. Let's pray. God, I just thank you so much for the way that you love us. I thank you for the incredible story of hope that you've written about. Even out of a dead stump, you brought the life of Jesus, who changed the dynamic of history. Lord, out of the stump of our brokenness, would you bring hope and restoration and new beginnings? Help us to believe that even the impossible is possible with you. We love you, Jesus. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Friends, before we close today, I just have a couple quick announcements for you to kind of let you know what's going on at Compass Life. The first one is this: if you're a first-time guest, we're so glad that you're here. We have a gift waiting for you at the Connection Cove in the back. You can go back there, give us your information, take home some really cool stuff, and then we're not going to bombard you, but we'll reach out to you just to let you know how you can get more involved and that we're glad that you're here. There's also connection cards in front of you. If you are tech savvy, and even if you're not, just open your camera, take a picture of it. It'll take you to a place that you can file out that information. Just take it to the back and they'll get you your gift. On January 22nd, men, we're going to start our men's ministry here with Authentic Manhood. We're going to have a great time. You'll be out by 7 o'clock, but come and join us. Just allow yourself to be challenged and stretched and grown. It'll help you. It'll help your marriage. It'll help your family. It'll help your walk with Jesus. We would love for you to be a part of that. There's books, but the church is going to provide those for you if you can come. And if I can get up at 6 a.m., so can you. I promise you. My dad is teaching his class, Life After Reality. 40 human characteristics that we'll spend in eternity, that we'll be able to experience in eternity. We had our first class Wednesday night. It was amazing. I hope that you'll come and be a part of that. We need to know if you're going to come, though. So if you want to come to the manhood thing, if you want to come to the Wednesday night study, please sign up in the back so that we can know how many books that we need and whether you might be coming or not. But it'll be life-changing for you, especially as we get closer and closer to that time where we're going to cross from this reality to the next. There are 3 ways to give. If you believe in the ministry of Compass Life Church and you want to help your community, you want to help our church family, or you want to help missions around the world, there are 3 ways that you can give. You are the fuel that makes the engine here run. And you can give by putting your offering in the giving box in the back, by giving online, which is the most consistent way, which I really encourage you to do, so that even if you're not here, you're continuing to support the ministry here. Or you can mail a check through snail mail by sending it to the address up there, 3800 US 19, Tavares, Florida, 32778. We would be greatly appreciate your contributing to the ministry here. Game day is going to start again on Thursday, January 16th, and it's the third Thursday of each month we have in our cafe. Listen, Mary Orgaz runs that game day, and she is a competitor, so bring your A game because you will lose everything to her when you're here. It's just a great time for people to get together, to have somewhere to come, to have fellowship and build relationships. If you're able, come to our game day on Thursday, January 16th, the third Thursday of each month. If you need prayer, you can fill it out on one of the prayer cards or on the QR code. Let us know how we can pray for you, and we will do that. If you need prayer today, come and see my friends and let them pray with you. All right, friends, if you would just stand with me. If you're online, this is for you too. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you his peace. Hope to see you soon. Look forward to seeing you soon. We're still going to beat all the other churches to lunch. I'll see you next week. God bless you.
Browning, here.